The installation of solar panels used for generating electricity can diminish up to 95% of the energy required from the Federal Commission of Electricity, and at the same time reduce the payments users make for this service. Representatives for the solar industry in Mexico confirmed that this kind of system could reach costs between 40,000 to 100,000 pesos, which is why they are much more convenient for those classified under high usage by the FCE and do not pay any less than 5,000 pesos every 2 months. Yet it is not considered profitable to be completely cut off from the FCE, since the purchase of batteries is a hefty investment. And this is only recommended for users who live in isolated areas and without access to the national power grid. One could potentially become 100% independent, but it is not the most viable option economically, since this would mean acquiring a battery backup, which raises the cost of the investment. So, the most profitable option at the moment is to connect to the Federal Commission and in this way continue to be a part of their energy backup system. So if you want to become 100% independent, you can, but it will have an additional cost. There are many companies currently operating in Mexico which offer photovoltaic panel installation, requiring at least 3 past energy bills to estimate their average consumption and define the number of panels they will require to guarantee a cost reduction and energy usage between 80 and 95%. Some banking institutions even offer loans for these types of equipment. As a matter of fact, even the federal government offers a lending program offered through the Trust for the Reduction of Electrical Energy Consumption. Alfonso Uribe, the Director of Operations for Aju Solara of Mexico, a company dedicated to the installation of solar equipment, mentioned that the panels must be facing south and receive at least 5.5 hours of sunlight. This means that one of the requirements is that there shouldn't be any obstruction that might generate shadows. Yes, of course, there are some specifications that the user must cover. And with these requirements, we can assess the location where the solar panels will be installed. These must always be facing south. And if we find a problem from the south, such as an obstruction from a neighboring building, trees, etc., unfortunately, we cannot install the solar panels. This is a great prerequisite that must be covered by the user. They must have an adequate location where the installation is to be done. Otherwise, a billboard or a building or any obstruction really could cast a shadow and affect the transfer of energy. The 40,000 to 100,000 peso investment for the installation of the solar panels includes cables and an inverter which allows for the connection of the solar system to the FCE system and the home. It also includes the breaker box and a bidirectional meter. All of these systems have a 20 to 30-year lifespan. What we see here is the area where we find the electrical installation for the generating system corresponding to these 2 cabinets. And over here we have the source from the Federal Commission of Electricity, and on this side we have the source that feeds the home. And we generically call this the rush, and this is the area where the solar equipment and the source of electricity from the FC and the source that feeds the home all intersect. While the solar equipment generates power, it is feeding the home. And if there is a surplus, because on a sunny day we would know by noon if there is a surplus, it is routed back to the FCE and distributed amongst the neighbors, because at that moment the owner of the equipment is being paid for the surplus through this meter. And we call this a bidirectional meter because at night, when the user is utilizing electricity from the FCE, he is in fact being repaid for the surplus he distributed to the neighbors during the day. 6 months ago, Beatriz Canalizo's home began generating electricity through 13 solar panels that were installed on the roof of her house and were acquired for 120,000 pesos. an amount that was covered through the government trust. I was consuming around 5,000 pesos a month because I was under the DAC rate, which is very high. I had a very high consumption, over 3,000 kilowatts a year. And this was placing me under that rate. And now I am consuming, based on my last bill, only 400 pesos. The people who helped me with this installation also helped me with a loan, and now I'm paying 2,500 pesos a month. And after calculating my payments, I will pay it off completely in 5 years. And in 3 years, I will reap the benefits because the price of energy will rise, all while I continue to pay the same rate. I must also mention that the policies with which the government seeks to incentivize the use of solar panels include a series of fiscal benefits for individuals who install these photovoltaic panels that have to do with tax deductions or a reduction of property taxes and water service payments. Nayeli Gonzalez reports.